How shocking was that for you, and how disturbing was that when you found that out?
I'd had a similar, in fact, even worse experience that I won't go into a few months. Somebody who followed me into a restaurant and eavesdropped on the whole very private conversation and then talked to a newspaper about it. So I can't pretend I'm surprised.
Picture this: a life filled with laughter, love, and an unbreakable bond with the world around her. She's known for her kindness, her warmth, and the way she makes everyone feel seen and heard. But just when everything seems perfect, something unimaginable happens, threatening to unravel everything she has built. What follows is a twist of fate that no one could have predicted, leaving her fighting for something far greater than fame or success. Natasha Jane Richardson is born on May 11, 1963, in Marylebone, London. From the moment she opened her eyes, she was surrounded by an extraordinary legacy, one that would shape her dreams and challenges alike. Imagine growing up with a mother like Vanessa Redgrave, an icon of theater and film, celebrated for her roles in iconic films like Blow Up, Camelot, and Julia, for which she won an Academy Award. Vanessa wasn't just a talented actress. She was a force of nature, a woman of passion and conviction. Natasha often watched her mother rehearse, completely mesmerized. Those moments weren't just family time, they were her first acting lessons. Her father, Tony Richardson, was a brilliant but complicated man. His direction in films like Tom Jones and The Loneliness of the Long-Distance Runner had earned him acclaim, but his personal life was marked by turbulence. Natasha's parents separated when she was just 4 years old, leaving a void that shaped much of her childhood. Tony's affairs with both men and women strained his marriage to Vanessa, creating an emotional whirlwind that young Natasha couldn't fully understand. His open bisexuality, especially at a time when society wasn't accepting, added layers of tension and confusion to her world. She was left trying to make sense of a father who was both deeply loving and profoundly troubled. Yet, despite the complexities, she adored him. Tony's raw authenticity and refusal to hide who he was taught Natasha an invaluable lesson. Truth, no matter how uncomfortable, was a form of courage. That honesty became a guiding principle in her own life, both on and off the stage. Natasha wasn't just the daughter of famous parents, she was a child with big dreams and an even bigger heart. She was thoughtful and sensitive, with a natural curiosity about the world. While other kids played make-believe, Natasha found herself drawn to the real magic of storytelling. She loved reading and often escaped into books, finding comfort in characters who, like her, were trying to understand their place in the world. She wasn't alone in her journey. Natasha had a younger sister, Jolie Richardson, who would also follow the family path into acting, and 2 half-sisters from her father's other relationships. Growing up, Natasha felt the weight of being the eldest. She was protective, almost maternal, towards Jolie. The bond between them was unbreakable, a sisterhood forged in the fires of their family's complexities. But how did Natasha find her way to acting? It wasn't just a career choice, it felt like destiny. Watching her mother perform, Natasha saw more than just talent. She saw a purpose. Acting wasn't about fame, it was about connection, about telling stories that mattered. Even as a child, she knew she wanted to follow in her parents' footsteps, but she wanted to do it on her own terms. Her journey began in earnest at the prestigious Central School of Speech and Drama. There, Natasha wasn't just another Richardson. She was a young woman determined to carve out her own identity. She wasn't afraid of hard work. She embraced it. Friends remember her as dedicated and intense, always pushing herself to be better, to dig deeper. Her first steps into acting weren't grand Hollywood debuts. They were small roles, each one a stepping stone. Her breakthrough came in 1988 with Patty Hearst, a role that proved she was more than just her last name. Natasha didn't just act, she transformed, bringing a depth and vulnerability that made people sit up and take notice. But while Natasha's star was rising, the shadows of her family's past were never far behind. In the late 1980s, her father, Tony, was diagnosed with HIV, a cruel, unforgiving illness that carried an unbearable stigma at the time. For Natasha and her family, the diagnosis was like a slow-moving storm, a constant reminder of their fragility. Watching her father, once so full of creative fire, battle a disease that stripped away his strength was devastating. Each passing day was a mixture of hope and heartache, as they clung to moments of connection, knowing they were running out of time. When Tony passed away in 1991, Natasha didn't just lose her father. She lost a part of herself. The emptiness he left was deep, reminding her of both love and pain. But from that loss, she found strength. She once said, "He was who he was," a simple yet powerful way of accepting the complicated nature of love and family. She carried that truth with her, turning her grief into quiet strength. Natasha was more than an actress. She was a daughter, a sister, a wife, and a mother. Her early struggles taught her how fragile life is and how important love is. That's what made her special. Not just her talent, but her kindness and courage. She wasn't just acting, she was living a story of real humanity. After losing her father, Natasha found herself standing at a crossroad. The world around her forever changed. The grief was heavy, but something inside her had shifted. She wasn't just carrying the weight of loss, she was ready to find her own voice. Natasha knew that if she was going to step into the world on her own terms, it would be through the art of acting, a craft she had always known and loved. Her first big steps after Tony's death came on stage. The West End called, and Natasha answered. She took on roles that challenged her, that tested her emotionally. It was there, in the raw intimacy of live theater, that Natasha's talent began to truly shine. She wasn't just performing, she was living each character's emotions, making them her own. Her performance in The Seagull by Chekhov was one of her early triumphs, a role that captured her ability to bring vulnerability and strength to every scene. Then, Natasha made her way to the big screen. It was in The Parent Trap where the world first saw her for who she truly was, a brilliant actress in her own right. Playing the role of Elizabeth, she brought a warmth and elegance that made audiences fall in love with her. The film was a commercial success, but more importantly, it marked a turning point in her career. She was no longer just the daughter of iconic parents. She was Natasha Richardson, a star in her own right. In the years that followed, Natasha's career blossomed. She took on roles that demanded depth and emotional range. Nell was one such film, where she portrayed a woman raised in isolation, a performance that showcased her ability to bring complexity to even the most challenging roles. The film earned her critical acclaim, and it became clear that Natasha wasn't just playing parts, she was telling deeply human stories. Her passion for meaningful roles led her to The White Countess, a film that tested her limits, pushing her to explore the depths of loss, love, and identity. Through every performance, Natasha proved that she was more than capable of stepping out from under the shadows of her family's fame. Even as her star rose, Natasha remained grounded. The Hollywood scene never seemed to consume her. She wasn't interested in being a typical celebrity. She wanted to be a storyteller, someone whose work had heart and substance. It was this quiet dedication to her craft, this deep connection to every role that made her not just a talented actress, but a woman who would always be remembered for the authenticity and depth she brought to the screen. Her rise to fame wasn't just about success, it was about carving out her own place in the world, one performance at a time. And with every role, Natasha Richardson proved that her light was her own, a light that could never be dimmed by her family's legacy or by the pain of the past. Through the highs and lows of her career, Natasha's heart always remained firmly rooted in love and family. After losing her father, she understood just how fragile life could be. Her experiences shaped her into someone who valued connection above all else. She didn't just want a career, she wanted a life rich with meaningful relationships, and she found exactly that when she met Liam Neeson. Their love story began in 1993. While starring in the Broadway play Anna Christie, she met Liam Neeson, and their connection was instant. Natasha was already a talented and well-known actress, while Liam had established himself as a successful star. But when they crossed paths, it wasn't just their professional careers that would intertwine, it was their hearts. From the moment they met, there was something electric between them. Natasha described their connection as immediate. It was as if they had known each other forever. Liam, with his gentle strength and grounded nature, brought something new into her life. She once said, "Liam is my best friend." And through their shared love of family, art, and the simple joys of life, they became inseparable. Within a year, they had fallen deeply in love. In 1994, they married, and Natasha found in Liam not just a partner, but a fellow traveler on the winding journey of life. They shared laughter, they shared tears, and they built a home together filled with love. Natasha had always known the importance of family, but with Liam, she found a partnership that was built on deep respect and mutual understanding. They supported each other in everything, whether it was navigating the intense pressures of the film industry or simply enjoying quiet moments together, away from the public eye. In 1995, Natasha gave birth to their first son, Mikhail. Becoming a mother brought a new sense of fulfillment for Natasha, a joy she had never known before. She would often say that being a mother was the greatest role she would ever play, and her love for Mikhail was a constant source of light in her life. Then, in 1997, their second son, Daniel, was born. The Richardson-Neeson household became one where love was abundant, where every moment was cherished, and where family came first. Natasha often spoke about how important it was to keep her family close, especially as her career continued to take off. Despite the demands of acting, she was determined to be present for her children. She made sure that her role as a mother always took precedence over anything else. Her family was her anchor, and no amount of fame could ever change that. It was meant to be a simple vacation, a well-deserved break from the hectic Hollywood life. By 2009, Natasha Richardson's life seemed perfect: a successful career, a loving family, and a reputation as one of the most respected actresses of her generation. But everything would change on a snowy mountain in Mont-Tremblant, Quebec. It was March 16, 2009. Natasha, with little skiing experience, decided to take a beginner's lesson. She laughed, enjoying the moment. It was supposed to be just another day out, but fate had other plans. As she neared the bottom of the slope, Natasha lost her balance and fell, her head hitting the hard-packed snow. The impact was jarring. Though not dramatic, it was enough to cause concern. And there was one crucial detail: Natasha wasn't wearing a helmet. At first, everything seemed fine. Natasha brushed it off with a laugh, telling her instructor she was okay and declined medical attention. But her instructor, sensing something wasn't right, called in the ski patrol for a second opinion. They arrived shortly after, and it was decided that Natasha should be taken back to her room, accompanied by both her instructor and a member of the ski patrol, just to make sure she was truly okay. It wasn't long before the situation took a sinister turn. Natasha, who had seemed fine in the moments after the fall, began to feel unwell. By the time her headache intensified, a growing sense of worry began to creep in. She called her husband, Liam Neeson, who was in Toronto filming a movie, and casually mentioned the fall, brushing it off with the words, "Oh darling, I've taken a tumble in the snow." But within hours, Natasha's condition rapidly worsened. By 3 p.m., the once confident actress was exhibiting signs of confusion, and her headache had escalated. Alarmed, her family called for an ambulance again. This time, the urgency was undeniable. She was rushed to the nearest hospital, but by then, the damage had already been done. What no one knew, what no one could have imagined, was that Natasha had suffered a silent, fatal injury: an epidural hematoma. This is a condition where blood collects between the skull and the brain, often due to head trauma. It is deceptive because, on the outside, Natasha seemed fine. There were no visible signs of the catastrophe unfolding inside her. By the time the symptoms became apparent, it was too late. Her brain began swelling, pressing against her skull, cutting off vital blood flow. Her condition deteriorated quickly, and her family could only watch helplessly. At the time, Liam Neeson was filming in Toronto, thousands of miles away. When he heard the disturbing news, he rushed to her side, hoping he could hold her and comfort her. But when he arrived, the truth was brutally revealed. Natasha was brain dead. There was nothing more that could be done. The woman he loved, the mother of their children, was gone. Her body still warm, but her spirit already departed. In those final moments, Liam held her hand, whispering softly to her through his tears, remembering the life they had shared. And in one final, selfless act of love, the family decided to donate Natasha's organs. Even in death, she would continue to help others, just as she had always done in life. 2 days later, on March 18, 2009, Natasha Richardson passed away at the age of 45. Her sudden and tragic death sent shockwaves through the world. Leaving a void in the hearts of her family, friends, colleagues, and fans. Hollywood mourned the loss of a woman whose warmth, grace, and talent had touched so many lives. But while the world grieved, Natasha's legacy lived on. Through her remarkable body of work and the lives she saved through organ donation, she continues to inspire. Even in the face of unimaginable loss, her kindness and generosity remain a guiding light. Her death was an unfathomable tragedy, yet, through it all, her family found solace in the knowledge that her spirit, her heart, was still making a difference in the world, and that, in the end, was the most beautiful testament to who Natasha Richardson truly was. As of 2024, Liam Neeson's two sons, Michael and Daniel Neeson, continue to thrive in their respective careers, though they carry the weight of their mother's tragic passing in 2009. Michael, now 29, has been making strides in both acting and fashion, working on films like Made in Italy alongside his father, which allowed them to bond over shared grief. He has spoken openly about the difficult years following Natasha's sudden death, reflecting on the impact it had on him personally, even leading him to hit rock bottom before finding his footing again. Mikiel, along with his brother Daniel, is deeply involved in keeping Natasha's memory alive. Both sons occasionally discuss how her legacy continues to inspire them, with Michiel noting in interviews that he often watches her films to keep her spirit close. Daniel, in particular, has expressed similar sentiments on significant anniversaries, reflecting on how much he still misses his mother. As for Liam, despite the intense grief of losing his wife so unexpectedly, he has remained dedicated to raising his sons with support from their extended family, especially Natasha's mother, Vanessa Redgrave. The bond within the family appears to have only strengthened over the years, with Liam continuing to be an affectionate and involved father, often expressing his deep love for his sons and the importance of family in his life. Overall, while the Neeson family has faced immense loss, they have continued to grow, both personally and professionally, always with Natasha's memory in their hearts. Natasha's life teaches us what it means to truly fight for what matters. Stay inspired, like, share, and subscribe for more stories that move your soul.